Okay, so you're here to really like get to the bottom of things, right? You want to level up your knowledge fast.
Yeah.
And today we're going to do a deep dive on something that I think is so practical for all of us dog owners.
Yeah.
Taking training basics, but like really making them work in those crazy high energy moments.
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Absolutely.
Like when guests come over,
Yeah.
your dog is like
Yeah.
buzzing out of their minds.
The doorbell rings and it's like, oh, all bets are off.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you've been telling me
Yeah.
you have a dog who's like, really well behaved. You can get a stay,
Yeah.
out on a walk.
You're right.
But then someone walks in the door
Uh-huh.
and it's like, boom.
Fireworks.
It's like, where did all that training go?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So we're going to tackle that today.
Absolutely.
And look at how just going back to the basics
Yeah.
can actually be the best tool in those really high energy encounters.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, using those foundational cues that sometimes seem so simple that we overlook them.
Right.
But they're so powerful.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we've been looking at some audio that really gets to the core of this,
Yeah.
and kind of the power duo of like, no, and let's go.
Mm.
And I think what's so interesting is how
Right.
you might have the most perfect down,
Yeah.
in like a training class or in your living room.
Yeah. In a quiet environment.
But
Yeah.
that doesn't always translate when you've got, Uncle Bob at the door.
Totally.
It's about understanding the context and the emotion in dog behavior.
Exactly. And it's fascinating to me how often we as humans, when we're trying to communicate with our dogs, especially when they're in a really heightened emotional state,
Mm-hmm.
we tend to
Make it complicated.
make it more complicated,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
We're like, stay quiet down,
stay-
don't jump,
Yeah.
And actually what we need to be doing is simplifying things. When a dog is overwhelmed with excitement, they can't process all of that.
They're flooded.
They're flooded with all these emotions.
Right. It's like they can't even hear you.
Exactly.
It's not even getting through.
Yeah, it just sounds like blah, 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 blah.
Totally. And then we get frustrated,
Right. And then we get frustrated.
which makes it worse.
Exactly.
So it's like this whole...
It's a vicious cycle.
It's a vicious cycle.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting because, we were talking about before how,
Yeah.
your dog might be, amazing on walks.
Right.
Ignoring squirrels.
Yeah. Yeah.
Perfect heel.
Right.
But then the doorbell rings and it's like,
It's like they've never had any training.
yeah, you've got like a furry rocket launching itself at the door,
It's crazy.
barking like crazy.
Right.
So it's that over-the-top excitement.
Right.
That's really the puzzle we're trying to solve here.
And we have to remember that it's not like a deliberate disobedience.
Right.
They're not trying to be bad. A lot of times it's just physiological. There's so much adrenaline
Right.
coursing through their body. They can't even think straight.
Mm.
And trying to suppress that feeling with just a stern command,
Yeah.
it's like trying to hold back a sneeze.
Right.
It's just, it doesn't usually work.
Right. Or you make it worse.
Right.
Right.
It's like
Yeah.
we want to give them an outlet for
Right.
that energy.
Yeah. So if
Right.
it's not the sit, stay quiet, what is it?
Right.
Because it feels natural to be like, calm down.
Yeah, stop it.
Stop it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are all very
Yeah.
human kind of abstract words that our dogs don't necessarily understand,
Right.
especially when they're in that state.
Yeah.
So we need to give them something that's really clear and
Yeah.
simple.
Yeah.
And that's what this material is really advocating for.
Right.
Is that when you see your dog is getting really amped up.
You need to simplify your instructions.
Okay.
Think about it this way.
Yeah.
Like if you're really stressed or overwhelmed,
Mm-hmm.
are you going to be able to follow a complicated set of instructions?
No. No way.
Probably not.
Keep it simple.
Right.
Keep it simple.
One step at a time.
One step at a time. So
Okay.
same thing with our dogs.
Okay, so this is where the let's go command comes in,
Yeah.
according to,
Right.
this audio that we've been looking at.
And I love let's go as a cue.
Right.
It's so versatile.
Yeah, and I think when people hear let's go, they picture
Yeah.
running out the door.
Right. Sprinting.
Yeah. Bolting out of the house.
Going for a walk.
Yeah.
But that's not what we're talking about here.
No, not necessarily.
Right.
It's more about
It's about movement.
initiating movement
Yeah.
with you
Yeah.
as a way to kind of redirect that excitement,
Yeah.
that energy.
Yeah. It's like
I see you're excited.
I see you're excited.
Let's channel this
So
into
through something productive.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's not just about
Right.
casually saying let's go.
Right.
It's about
It's about
any corrections you give
Yes.
are in service of that let's go.
Yes.
It's not about punishing the bark or the jump.
Right.
It's about...
It's about getting them to move with you.
Yeah.
So, for example, if you say, let's go, and your dog is still continuing to, like, bark and jump at the guest,
Yeah.
then you might give a gentle leash correction,
Mm-hmm.
but that correction is not for the barking.
Right.
It's for not following the let's go. It's
Right.
a reminder to, like, hey, I told you to move with me.
Right.
Let's go.
Exactly.
So, and also being realistic, like, the
Yeah.
first few times you do this in, like, a crazy,
Right.
you know,
It's going to be messy.
guess at the door situation, it might be messy.
It's going to be messy. Your dog might be clumsy.
Your dog might be distracted.
They might, like...
They might make mistakes.
Yeah,
And that's totally normal.
totally.
It's just like anything else.
It's practice.
It takes practice.
Right. And
Yeah.
you're rewiring that circuit.
Exactly. You're building a new habit.
Yeah.
Right.
So, like, when that happens, instead of doing the thing,
Yeah.
we're going to do this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the audio we were looking at
Yes.
also made a really practical suggestion
What's that?
about having like an indoor leash
Oh, yeah.
ready to go.
I love that idea.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just makes things so much easier.
So much easier.
Yeah.
Because it's like,
You don't have to like scramble around.
yeah, you don't have to go find the leash.
Where's the leash?
Which gets everyone
And your dog's like going bonkers in the background.
flustered.
Yeah. Yeah.
So much easier.
Like set yourself up for success.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Have a lightweight leash.
You know, maybe even one that's intended for like a smaller breed dog.
Yeah.
So it's not like this big bulky thing in your house.
Right by the door.
Right.
So the moment
Yeah.
a guest arrives,
Mm-hmm.
calmly put the leash on,
Yeah.
and then immediately, let's go.
Boom. Let's go.
Right.
Yes.
And you want to immediately redirect their attention
Right.
from that exciting new person
All right.
to you and like
Right away.
the act of moving together.
Yeah. Don't even give them a chance to like
Right.
get fixated on that person.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think what's so interesting is that
Yeah.
we can look at this
Mhm.
more broadly too.
Yeah.
Right? Like in
It's
other
other areas of dog behavior.
areas of dog
Yeah.
behavior.
Yeah.
So, think about a dog who's,
Mhm.
reactive on walks,
Right.
barking and lunging at other dogs
Mhm.
while on leash.
Classic leash reactivity.
But then,
Yeah.
that same dog might be
Right.
totally fine
Totally different off leash.
off leash.
Yeah.
And it's almost like that constraint of the leash
Restriction. Yeah.
can really amplify that.
Amplifying frustration.
Right.
Yeah.
So they're like, I want to go say hi.
I want to go see that dog.
I can't get there.
And I can't get there.
Oh.
Right. And then they just like
Yeah.
lose their minds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the audio also talks about how
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
owners,
Yeah.
who anticipate
Yeah.
that they tense up.
Yeah. And then the
This-
dog picks up on that.
And then it's like,
Oh my gosh. Something must be wrong.
yeah, they're like,
Mom's nervous.
Mom's nervous. I should be nervous.
Dad's nervous.
And it's just like this
It just escalates the situation.
self-fulfilling prophecy.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And so the let's go
Yeah.
in that situation is like
Yeah. It gives you something to do.
an alternative.
It's proactive. Instead of just reacting to the barking and lunging,
Right.
which a lot of us do.
Yeah, no.
Right. We're just like, no, quiet.
Yeah.
But if we can give them something else to do,
Yeah.
that's so much more effective.
So it's not just don't do this.
Right.
It's do this.
do this instead.
Right.
Yeah.
And this leads to the let's go, no, let's go
Yeah.
sequence.
That's a really cool technique.
I love that.
Which is really like
Yeah.
the practical application of this.
Exactly. How do we actually put this into practice?
So let's like break it down step by step.
Okay.
Doorbell rings.
Yep.
Dog starts to like
Yeah.
lose it.
Okay, so you're going to see those initial signs of overexcitement.
Yeah.
It might be like a raised tail,
Mm-hmm.
a little whine.
Yeah.
Maybe their body stiffens up.
Mm-hmm.
You see the whites of their eyes.
Yeah.
And as soon as you see that,
Yeah.
let's go.
Let's go.
Right away. Now, they might not respond right away.
Yeah. Right. Especially if they're like really
They're already in it.
in the zone.
Yeah.
right? So that's where the no comes in.
Okay.
And often with the no, we're going to pair that with like a gentle leash correction.
Yeah.
Just a little pop on the leash to get their attention.
Okay.
And it's important to remember that that no is not a general scolding.
Right.
It's very specifically to interrupt that unwanted behavior.
So not no bad dog.
Right.
It's no stop jumping.
No stop jumping.
No stop barking.
Okay.
No stop barking in the context of following my let's go.
Right.
Right?
It's a very
Valid.
specific no.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. And then this is the critical part.
Yeah.
Immediately after the no and the correction,
Yeah.
you're going to reissue the let's go.
Let's go.
But this time with like a really encouraging, upbeat tone.
Come on, let's go.
Right, let's go this way.
Yeah.
And you might even like...
Get down on their level. Get down on their level a little bit.
Yeah.
Pat your leg.
Yeah.
You know, really make it enticing for them to move with you.
Yeah,
So it's like, let's go. No
Yeah.
correction. Let's go really happily.
Right. And I think
yeah.
one thing that the audio also touches on
Yeah.
that I think is really interesting
Mm-hmm.
is the role of the environment.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
sure.
It talks about how being confined indoors or on leash
Right.
can sometimes make those outbursts worse.
Yeah, because they're frustrated.
Yeah.
Right.
It's almost like
It's like that lack of freedom
they want it more.
makes them want it even more.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for example,
Yeah.
you know, we talked about leash reactivity.
Right.
A dog might be totally fine with other dogs off leash.
Right.
But on leash, they're like
Yeah.
barking and lunging. And it's
Yeah.
like, that's because they're frustrated.
Right.
They can't get to the other dog. Same thing like with a dog who's barking behind a fence.
Totally.
Then you open the gate and they're like,
Yeah.
oh, hey, how are you?
Tail wags.
Totally different dog.
Yeah. And so the
Yeah.
audio actually suggests that.
Yeah. This is kind of an initial strategy.
Yeah.
You might consider meeting your guests
Upside.
in a more open space, like your front yard,
Yeah.
if that's feasible.
Right.
Obviously, if you live in an apartment building, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
But if you have like a front yard or a driveway,
Yeah.
you could meet your guests out there.
Right.
And that allows the dog to like kind of get some of that
That initial burst out.
initial excitement out
Yeah.
in a less confined setting.
Right.
And then it might be easier to redirect them with that, let's go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's almost like,
It's like meeting them halfway.
right?
Yeah.
And then you can work towards that, like,
Exactly.
calm greeting inside.
It's not a permanent solution.
Yeah, it's a
But it's a good starting point.
stepping stone.
Yeah.
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 And I think the real takeaway here is that,
The real nugget.
you know, even though you're saying, let's go,
Yeah.
the goal is...
The desired outcome is still that calm greeting.
Yeah.
Right? Without the jumping and barking.
Yeah.
But by focusing on that action of let's go and moving with you,
You're indirectly.
you're indirectly addressing those other behaviors.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
So,
So instead of like,
so when their excitement levels are through the roof,
yeah,
instead of trying to like force them into a sit-stay,
which they can't even hear.
which they're not going to be able to do,
Yeah.
you're giving them a simple,
Yeah.
clear action to do
That they can process.
that they can actually process.
Yeah. So the next time you're expecting guests,
Yeah.
you know,
Remember this let's go strategy.
Yeah.
It's such a good tool.
it's about like working with their energy,
It's about working with their energy,
not against it.
not against it exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's about empowering you to guide your dog.
Mm-hmm.
Even when they're totally overcome with enthusiasm,
Right.
it gives them an outlet.
Yeah.
It gives them something to do
Yeah.
that's appropriate.
And it makes you think, right?
It does.
Like how often in life, when
Yeah.
our own emotions are high,
Yeah.
do we
Do we overcomplicate things?
overcomplicate our communication,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
And maybe like this dog training approach,
Yeah.
it's about finding that simple action,
Yeah.
you know,
That desired outcome.
that desired outcome
Yeah.
and focusing on that
Right.
instead of like
Instead of all the things we don't want.
all the noise.
Yeah.
Yeah. Food for thought.